Jesus turns worldly wisdom upside down on its head. I'm reading from John chapter 7 today, and it tells us, verse 14, now about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught. And the Jews marveled, saying, how knoweth this man letters, having never learned? They're saying, he's from up here in Galilee, he's a country boy, grew up in a carpenter's shop. How does he know these things? He hasn't been down here to our fancy schools and studied under our really learned philosophers and teachers, our important rabbis. How does he know the Bible? How does he know the Word of God? How does he know how to read and write? How does he know letters? You see, many of the people in Jesus' day were definitely influenced by the philosophy of their day. And ancient philosophers held that morality was produced by education. So, in other words, the more knowledge that you had, the more moral you would be. Plato said, ignorance, the root and stem of every evil. And so this was the theory of the day. By the way, that same theory still holds today. Think about how much money, time, energy, and effort has been poured into the education system, trying to raise the level of education, and look at the morality of our day. Is the more education you have making people more moral? And the answer is no, because it's backwards. So when they asked Jesus, they marveled, saying, how knoweth this man letters, having never learned? Verse 16, Jesus answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. What Jesus was teaching was what the Father had taught and had been teaching throughout the scriptures. He's teaching the Bible. In John chapter 8 and verse 29, Jesus said this, and he that sent me is with me. The Father hath not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. Jesus, throughout his ministry, maintained that he was not doing his own will, but the will of the Father. And that's what makes this next verse so important for us. In verse 17 of John 7, Jesus tells them, if any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of God or whether I speak of myself. If you want to know the Bible, you need to do the will of God. That's the bottom line. So think about it. Ancient philosophy said, the more knowledge you gain, the more moral you will be. Jesus says, the more you do the will of God, in other words, the more that you trust him and obey him, the more you'll understand his doctrine. You can look at someone's life who lives a godly life, and you will find a person who fears God. You will find a person who believes God. And you will find a person who is growing in their spiritual life, because when they encounter spiritual truth, they put it into practice. In other words, they obey God. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. We obtain true knowledge through obedience. If you want to just study the Bible and not obey it, you're not ever going to get anywhere. You're not going to learn. You're not going to grow. But when you encounter spiritual truth and you put it into practice, you're going to grow. This is why a child can know more than his teachers, because as he is taught to obey his parents and to obey God when he's young, and as that child, he or she grows, they continue to obey God, they're going to continue to grow and learn spiritual doctrine. A long time ago, I heard a preacher say, understanding can wait, obedience cannot. Put into practice what you know to be the will of God in your life, and you will see your knowledge and understanding grow. Just like Jesus said. God bless you. Have a great day.